switching that on. All right. I am here. Hello, hello. Happy today, Saturday. Happy Saturday. So, last stream, we did these, and I believe I started the stream off, or ended the stream off, by saying I was going to work on one of these, and I think we had decided this one collectively. So, there will probably be somebody who's like, oh, I want to show up and see how you continue it. Well, you're going to be disappointed, because I've decided I'm not going to do that. I am instead going, because it's May, and it's Mermay, and I want to do an underwater scene. So maybe this one kind of, sort of looks underwater. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do some underwater thumbnails. I want to talk through it, and maybe, I don't know if it's going to be a long stream today, because I'm a little tired. But I want to kind of do like maybe a couple days. It doesn't have to be sequential days, but a couple days where I work on the same piece. And I want to do an underwater piece for Mermay. And I don't know exactly what I want to do. Haven't decided if I want to have characters in it or no characters or figure. I do want to do something different than what I've done in the past. So we'll see how it goes. Omi, hello! Hey Joe, it's going. Bring my reward. You are first on the stream. Also, why? I thought. Hold on. How do I? Oh, there we go. There. Chat is there. It probably won't stay there the whole time though. Redeemed a print. Wonder Wombat. Hello. Grats on the print redeem. I will. I think I do. Do I know your address? I don't know. Which print do you want? Let me know. And let me know where to send it. If you need the form, you can do that. It's there. Since you didn't type it in the comment. Flamingo check. Alright, I'm sitting up straight. But yeah, how's it going? Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. So yeah, anyway, I don't know. Let's see. I might need to change the address because I think it's my college one. Okay. Yeah, no worries. You can just fill it out, and if you put a new one, I'll see the new one, and I'll delete the old one. Okay, so I gotta set up my canvas, because I'm gonna do some sketching. And also, this is not the right thing. Hold on, you guys are gonna see... Also, I wonder if there's a way... There we go. Just copy and paste. Who knew it worked so easy? So I am gonna go... Nope, that's not the right scene. Oh, I was already on the right scene. Okay. So what I'm gonna do... Right, I'm setting up my canvas real quick so that I can... do some thumbnails here. So what I want to do is I want to cut this one. I'm literally just going to cut it and paste it and delete everything else. And then I'm going to save this, but not as the old file, but as a new file. So I'm narrating my file maintenance, maintaining my files. Let's see, this is 39, save. Okay, so now we have this. We can stick it there. And this could be so we were talking about this being like dragons in the sky. I'm gonna erase those dragons and the fire and put little like fishy shapes or mermaid shapes. I don't know. There, mermaids. And we can figure out what we're doing, you know, just little mermaids. Mermaids or fish or something. There we go. They're mermaids. Now it's an underwater scene. That's all you need. Okay. Oh, Joe, did you get any city in the stock, or is that one still available? I don't know. Is it? I think it's still... I think I forgot to order it last time, and so I said that I'm not going to have it. I don't know if... I don't remember. If you want to put two options, you can say, like, city or something else, and then I will send you the city one if I have it. A school of mermaids? Ooh, that'd be fun. Hey, Giraffe, how's it going? So yeah, I said I was going to work on this one again. I'm going to repeat myself a few times as people show up. I am not working on this painting today. I might, but it's mermaid, and I decided that I want to do a mermaid painting or an underwater painting. And so that's going to be what I do instead. We may end up still working on this because maybe it'll be the thumbnail that we like the most and we'll pick it. But I'm not exactly sure. I might even end up not having it in the running. I might end up deleting it or something. I don't exactly know. But I just want to play around with colors and do some underwater scenes. Really tired past few days, but how are you? I'm doing pretty good. I'm tired today also. Because... Also, did I just manually pick the same color as the background? I might have done that on accident. Hello, Just Fiction. How's it going? So yeah, I kind of, so I have some goals here. Let me write, I'm going to write out my goals just randomly down here. So you guys know what my goals are. My goals are mermaid. I'll just put under mermaid painting. Mermaid painting. But there's more to it than just mermaid painting. Mermaid painting, I am glued to Tamagotchi life right now. Tamagotchi. Wait, is that like the Tamagotchi? Is that like the little thing where you have to feed your pet? The little digital pet thingy that you feed and clean up its poop and all that? Is that the thing? And then depending on how you like, what you do to it, it'll grow up to be something. It's a Switch game. Oh, never mind. I don't know what that is. Okay. So my goals for my mermaid painting are underwater. Underwater. But also, like, use a different color palette. So, play with color palette. So you, maybe not unique color palette, but play with color palette. I don't just want to do your standard, blue, clear scene. I want to do like play around with like grays and different color, different stuff. Play with. I don't touch grass. I'm just very like tunnel visioned and very like in my own bubble. Play with colors. Color palette. Is that how you spell palette with the two L's, two T's? I don't think so. And then what else do I want to do? Maybe characters? Maybe? Maybe characters. And what else? What else do we want? Like unique composition or like play with composition? Play with let me take my time and write out my letters because there's you guys are trying to read it too. Composition. So these two, this one and this one, are like the art stuff, right? Like, because I've done a lot of thumbnails and I don't want to do the same thumbnails that I always do, right? So a lot of like my decisions are gonna be, oh, I avoid blues, or if I do go blues, maybe I add some other colors in it that are a little weird. Ooh, are we doing a spooky underwater scene with a lighter foreground and a mermaid? I don't know, maybe. We might. Yeah, maybe I'll do, like, mix up the value structure. And maybe I'll, you know those images of whales sleeping and floating? I'm aware that whales do that. I don't know about those images. Let me Google. Wait. How about you find me one of those images so I know what you're talking about? Because I know that white whales do that, but I'm not sure, like, is that, like, a common... Yeah, the vertical sleeping, yeah. I don't really know why they do that, but it's interesting. It's kind of cool. Hey, RX Inspire, how's it going? Okay, so I think these are the main things. And, like, design, make it interesting, maybe story? Story could be something that I focus on. I don't know what the story would be. That's more going to be like design slash design. I kind of want to make it so it's like it tells a story with the design, but it doesn't necessarily have to have like a, you know, like a narrative story. But I think these two are the big ones for me. I want to do things unique, right? I want to be unique. A special snowflake. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, I've seen that. But see, like this one for an underwater scene, I don't like the colors. It's too basic. It's just your standard blue. Like, I'm tired of... So I actually have some references, a few that I found. So, there's a game, and I talked about it when I played it, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. It was called, no, it was must have been after Christmas, because... No, it was between November and December is mostly when I played it. It was called Dave the Diver, and it was an awesome game. And look at the color palette of one. So it's kind of it's a pixely game, but the color palette of like this underwater scene is really cool. I really liked the color palette here. It uses oranges, very little blue. Like there is blue, but it's mostly orange. And this doesn't quite look as good as like when you're actually playing the... Oh, you can't see. Whoops. This doesn't look as good as when you're actually playing the game because there's movement, but this scene has like a vibe to it that I think is just way cool. Like it's just cool because it's not your typical blue. Whereas a lot of times when you do like a Google search or anything of underwater scenes, it's just like either tropical, super vibrant colors, or it's like murky, deep blue. And you don't really get a lot of variety. And this is just a cool way to do it. It's like, this is supposed to be super far underwater, but it's still like, obviously it's clear because you can see the character. But anyway, it's a great game. This doesn't look amazing, admittedly, but yeah. And then this is another thing I found that I kind of liked. Again, kind of a slightly different color palette, where yes, there's still blues, right, and greens and turquoises and stuff, but there's also a lot of these like reds and muted colors and grays, right? It's not as yeah, so this one is, I'm liking that. And then I have some other ones like this for character design, which is kind of cool, sort of merfolk creatures. This is a similar palette that I found. And then this is like kind of what I'm trying to avoid. I'm kind of trying to avoid this, which is just like this pristine looking blue color of like, oh, look, it's blue and there's water. Yeah, we get it. Water's blue. But like, I don't know. I think I can play around with color a bit and not make it look like all the other painting, you know? So I kind of want to be unique in that way, just play around. And I think this is a good example where like, I can just take, as long as it has a value structure that kind of makes sense. So like maybe it a little darker down here. You know, not a lot of light coming in, but maybe there's some light coming in from up above. Very sort of directional. And like, this could be an underwater scene. You know, maybe get some darker colors in here and stuff. This could be an underwater scene as long as we put the context. You know, we don't need it to look super underwatery, you know, like we can make it look underwater by, you know, the shapes and make coral and you know, add the things that make it look like underwater, not just the colors, you know. So that's kind of what I want to do. Who made that? Which one? This one? I don't know. I don't see a... It's for Magic the Gathering. So there's a Magic the... It's a Magic the Gathering card. I don't know which one. This is also Magic the Gathering card. These three are Magic the Gathering cards. Look at that. That's creepy. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good color. And that's the thing, right? You can have any color of water. Like, the thing that makes the water look like water is the way that the light interacts, right? It's the... just to show what was just linked. Right? Like this one, I mean, this is a tank, obviously. We're looking through a tank. But the thing that makes water look like the water is like, look at the light fall off, right? This thing is you're shining the light on it, and yet this one, you have the light, and back behind it, this drop off. Real, you know, out in open air doesn't do that, right? You think it's the oh, is this actually? It's a river water. Is why it's not blue. Oh, is this actually in the river? Oh, I thought maybe it was an aquarium with light. Gotcha. Okay. But even if it were, right? Even if it was like not just colored light, but the main thing is like look at the depth, right? You just don't have good depth. And that's what makes it look like and that's to me what makes it look like water. Freak dolphins, you love them. Wait, are these not beluga whales? Wait, these are dolphin. Pink dolphins? Wait, that looks like a river dolphins. Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. Let me type in river dolphin. Pink. Oh, okay, that is what that is. Interesting. I didn't know that was a thing. Pink river dolphins. Boop their snoots. Bria! How's it going? Hypercube Cats. It took me a second to read your name for some reason. Hope you're doing well, Bria. Yeah, this is cute. Although those teeth look like they're mean serious business. Like I wouldn't want to get in the way of those teeth. That looks like a saw. You went by Bria Katrina before, changed your username? Gotcha. Yeah, these look terrifying. But again, I just want to I'll just repeat myself. But yeah, one of my main goals today is going to be playing around with color palette, but also playing around with composition. I do a lot of, you know, as much as I like this painting, I do a lot of just sort of like, I don't know how to describe it, like looking directly straight ahead in a scene, and I do a lot of that. Whereas I think I can play around with, you know, looking up or looking down, and especially when you're underwater, I think it makes a lot more sense to play around like that. So that's what I'm gonna do a little bit of, I think. All right, let's just jump in. I'm just gonna start doodling. I don't exactly know how it's gonna work, but I'm gonna start with just like, and also I don't know how far I'm gonna get, but I want to play around it with some different colored lighting, kind of, you know, maybe some teals, but also some grays, some darker colors, maybe some reddish colors. Maybe we'll get something about the river that makes animals more freakish. It's like giant otters next to sea otters. Oh, interesting. Okay, already this is like more interesting than what I normally paint for underwater stuff. Now, I do want to be careful. Again, I'm already falling into that, not trap, but I'm already falling into that thing where I'm thinking like, oh, it needs a horizon line right here. And it's like, well, no, we can be looking, I mean, the horizon line can be wherever, but it doesn't have to be a literal horizon, right? It could be or like a mountain, you know, it doesn't have to be like a mountain range or something. Like it's not, we're not bound by the height of a normal thing, right? Because we could be in a cavern or we could be above, and also like the sky, essentially the thing above us. So even if our eye line's here, this is still water. So like we could still have, like there isn't really a separation between where your eyes are and like on Earth, you have to be like on Earth, right? You have to be standing on something, or if you're floating, I guess, like there's a literal line, but you don't really have that underwater. Because things are gonna get murky long before you ever see like the skyline. I think, right? Like there's never really a time where, like if you're in like a tree or something on above ground, right? And you look out over the horizon, things just kind of, you can kind of see as far as you can see unless it's like a foggy day, and things just get really small and things eventually kind of all go towards that same point. Underwater, it kind of doesn't do that, right? Like you kind of have, you can't see that far. It tends to get much murkier, so you have things obstructing your view much sooner. You know, a lot more atmosphere. So yeah. Some orange. We're getting orange and teal. Again, kind of the Dave the Diver vibe here. I'm trying to take like some of these orange colors, make it feel underwater. Maybe things like... I still want to play with hard edge shapes, though. But yeah, there's some really crazy and weird animals out there. It's funny. I remember watching a video about not character design. I think it was just design. It might have even been environment design. I don't know what it was. It was a long, long time ago. And one of the concept artists in the video ended up saying something like, you know, every time you think you've designed something, like basically alluding to the fact that nature is more wacky and like crazy than probably even your most wacky and crazy ideas. Like always ends up being something so ridiculous that if you look at a creature and you're like, that's a stupid looking creature. Like that, if that were in a video game, you would say that's bad creature design, right? Or if you saw it in a movie, you'd be like, that's so unrealistic. And yet real life has these things. It has things that are so bizarre and so wacky that it just seems unrealistic. Which has always kind of stuck with me because it's a good reason to use real life as a reference, because you're not going to be able to compete with the silliness that is actual nature. But also, just because something is real doesn't mean it's like it reads well, right? It can also just look stupid. And so there's kind of there's sort of a lesson in there, I feel like, both in that nature is awesome and crazy and has full of weird, insane ideas, but also, yeah, to like, I don't know, something. There's some other lesson. But yeah, I like it. It's always kind of stuck with me. Like, here I am trying to have like a realistic color palette, and there's probably some place with very particular conditions underwater where it's just like this bright of pink, and like the rocks are bright red. It's like, I don't know. That seems like it's bizarre, but there's probably some place on Earth with some weird thing going on where the rocks are neon pink, and for whatever reason, the water's murky and it takes on that same glow, and it's just like everything's pink. Like, I don't know, maybe. It wouldn't surprise me. Like, obviously that's not the norm, but that's the thing, right? The really crazy stuff on Earth is like super rare. Same with the universe as a whole and the cosmos. It's so much more wild than we can ever imagine. Yeah, I suppose. Also, my nose is running. 1 second. Let me go and grab a tissue. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go blow my nose. Okay, I'm back. Oh wow, covered the cam. You must be serious. No, I just didn't want to find the button and read the thing and switch scenes. So I'm like, all right, I'll just flip down the camera. I just have a little flippy lid. It's just flips it down, flip it up. It's super easy. That's easier than trying to like have a button. And also because you guys can change the scene. And if I leave and somebody flips the scene to Jed Talk, that's gonna change my scene back to my camera. Because you guys, so now that you guys are able to change my scene, also I can flip myself. Bloop 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 bloop. There we go. But yeah, because of that, I need to be a little bit careful. Also, I am lagging. It might be overheating. If I disconnect, it's because my computer or something overheated. So yeah. Just a heads up, it might happen. It's very hot, and I don't have an air conditioning in yet. I'm getting it put in on Monday. So, but yeah. Hope everyone's doing well today. Okay, what am I doing here? I think I'm just making some shapes. Maybe they're these mega structures. Could be some sort of thing. I don't know. Not really too sure yet. I kind of like these shapes though. Whatever shape that is. It's sort of like a, I don't know, that. Little, whatever that shape is. I don't know what you call it. It's something. Something with intent. Okay. Then this kind of has a feeling of like underwater, right? We got our underwater scene, but I'm not sure if that's what I want to do. I'm just gonna put shapes floating here to kind of spark my imagination. Maybe a little fin, a mermaid, a mermaid. There. Yeah, maybe little fishes or fishies or something. I don't know. I'm just making little shapes. Maybe a seahorse. I don't know how seahorses have like a, I don't know how to draw seahorses. Anyway, I'm just drawing little shapes. Do I like that though? Not really. Okay, let's take the same, let's just try to crank these out. Spend a little time on each one. I don't want to spend too long because I found, and this is something I've known forever, but I've been realizing it more and more, that keeping up momentum while I'm painting is super useful. Also, what is, yeah, here we go. Like a physical momentum, like actually like having the pen moving on the paper in a certain way or like at a certain rhythm, I think is super useful. And I kind of have always known that, but also, what is happening here? Yeah, I don't know why my grid got all wacky, but let's try to fix that. Can I just take this and move it this way? Something like that. But yeah, I think I remember watching a video by Cynics, I think, where he talked about that. And I kind of knew it at the time, but it's not really a thing that you think about much, is like physically moving your, like keeping up the momentum of like making a mess kind of. And like, because when it's almost like, gosh, how do I describe it? I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. If you do, let me know. But like sometimes when you're painting, especially in the early stages, you can paint really fast and make a lot of progress. But as you sort of get into like a detail stage, you start to slow down and be more deliberate. But then you end up getting stuck there in the sense that you keep painting slowly and you sort of, I find it's hard to like remind myself to like, oh, paint quickly, and not necessarily quickly, but like keep up a rhythm and a movement and you know, like keeping the ideas kind of coming instead of stopping that flow of ideas. Like you're trying to like mentally keep a rhythm. It's not just physical. Like there's obviously a physical component to it too, but I find like if you paint sort of, not, it's not just quickly, but like if you paint to that rhythm that you're thinking of stuff and you just kind of keep the ideas going. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but that's been a thing that I've kind of been sort of learning, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does. Like, I'm already here, like, I'm starting to slow down because I'm not sure where I want to go. But in reality, I could probably just keep on adjusting things. So maybe I add some light, or maybe I add another color, or maybe I remove something, or maybe I change a gradient. So I'm gonna put little colors on the tips here. I also like the idea of a cavern, like maybe steam vents. So maybe the steam vents, there's one here, in here, in here. Maybe, hold on, maybe the steam vents, maybe we're looking down at them. Hey, Stiller, Mochi Ghost! He says, hey, Stiller, long time, hope you've been well. I have been well. Okay, maybe there's one here. Maybe there's some here. But these are gonna be like this, as we're looking up at them. This could be circular. And then maybe there's a big one here. I don't know. Maybe there's a whole bunch of little ones. So these are going to be little steam vents. And I'm going to make them dark in the middle? I don't know. I don't know if that was a right choice. Mochi Ghost, it has been a while. And yes, I have been very well. I forgot it was Mermaid, though. And so I kind of, towards the end of the last stream, I had made an announcement that I'm going to continue this thumbnail. And I have made myself a liar. Not really, but kind of. I mean, I did say I was going to do something, and now I'm not doing it. I could have done it today, but I decided not to. The purples are beautiful. Yeah, I liked it. But I decided that it's gonna be underwater now. Because I want to do an underwater scene. Do we want other colors in here? I don't know. That's so exciting. Yeah, I want to do a mermaid scene. It is May, and I don't think I'm gonna do a full one today. Like, we'll probably also I think I also want a scene, because we're talking about composition, right? These are my goals today. Play with composition. These are compositional things that I've done a million times. So what I want to do is, what if we have shapes like this? You know, we don't, like, we could be, I'm trying to think. We're looking up or looking down. But we don't have to do either, right? We could have a scene like, these could be larger. But then we could have like a valley almost. So like, because I'm trying to think of what can I do that I can only do underwater, right? There's sort of limitations on Earth, right? With sort of the way things tend to be. I wonder if there's some stuff that I can do. Like maybe we start out, I don't know. I mean, things floating, kind of. I don't know. You also totally forgot about Mermaid? Yeah, me too. Okay, so maybe these are the steam vents. And maybe the vents have like a blue. Like this. Like a bright... Like, okay, that's too bright. Maybe more saturated? Maybe like that. Where we get like a saturated color. Some sort of vents or something. Maybe there's some bits of color. Maybe the color is like an orange coming out of there. I don't know. I'm just making colors. We can always make it look more underwater later. What else could we do? If this is underwater, we have, of course, that thing here. Again, we can always figure out where we're gonna go from here, but I just want to keep moving. Keep that rhythm going. Maybe there's some structures. Some structures in the background. Maybe that's the... Also, typically underwater, right, because you have directional soft lighting, you don't get a lot of bounce light coming up from the things, right? So, like... if you have this as like you're looking up, it might actually be very, very dark underneath. You get a lot of like very dark shadows. It's almost like indoor lighting, right? You just have that very soft light coming in from one direction. Something like that, I don't know. So how high do I want this? Not sure. Some sort of arch or something. Does it just go off the page? I'm kind of just trying to think visually here. Just keep making shapes, paint things. Again, do I want a shape over here? I don't know what this is doing. Maybe we want it more angled. I kind of like the idea of like looking up at stuff, which this is not right now. Right now we're looking down at stuff. And then we have like we're looking up here and down here, which is kind of weird. That's kind of like the split composition thing that I think is good to avoid. So I'm sort of doing exactly what I think I shouldn't do. And in reality, what I should do is pick a side, right? I should say like, okay, I want to be, if my eye line's going to be here, then let's keep this the top of my canvas, and this is the focal point, right? All these things. Or my eye line is here, and we're looking up at all this stuff, and then this stuff is just like not important, and we can't see that, right? Like so, you know, or here and we're looking up, right? Just like that. I think those are both more compelling. So I want to try what I just said, because those are kind of my assumptions. So what if I take this, copy paste, and treat this as the painting? So now we're looking up. Maybe a bit of this can be a bit more extreme. Some shadows. Oh. There, now we're looking up at these, a bit more 3-point perspective stuff. This, because now because we're looking so far up, though, I do want to change the color of this, right? To make it more like light, watery color. Maybe like a bluish teal. I'm thinking, because like if we're looking up, right, at the sky, this is the sky is now the surface of the water. So I'm thinking we'll have like the light come through there. There. And do we have light back here? Probably. This is all. And now it's like we're looking up deep. But we can also have things like floating. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm mostly just going to be talking through my thoughts today. I don't know. If anyone has any questions about stuff that I normally do, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'll just be rambling to myself. Or narrating my ideas the best I can. No guarantee there's anything of value that will be said. But, you know, that's how it normally is, I think. Let's see. I think... This is not working the way that maybe I want more shapes angled, like to really emphasize that 3-point perspective. To give us that illusion that we're looking upward at things. Hearing you talk through your ideas always teaches me something new. It's so appreciated. No, I'm glad. Maybe this is coming towards us. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that illusion to read right in a quick time, but this will be like the towards us part. And does that read as towards us? No, not yet.
something like that, maybe. Kinda? I don't know. Okay, what else? Yeah, I'm just trying to get the illusion to make this look like we're looking up. Maybe there's like a giant castle wall or something. We could also do structures underground. There's no reason we can't do things like an old structure where we're looking up with like grates and like an under a city almost, where like maybe we have like it's implied that there's like buildings or something up here and we're lurking below the surface. Not sure I'm liking where this is going. Maybe add some foreground, get some depth in here. One of the things I do struggle with, and because unless you have a scene, like at least this is from my own experience, unless I have a scene that is well thought out already, it's hard to make scenes without a ground plane. I find that I sort of rely on a ground plane quite a bit. I guess I could rely on an overhead plane. It's the same thing as a ground plane, just flipped, right? So like if I did this, but basically I rely on it to create depth, right? I'll use my foreground, midground, background, and I'll use those sort of overlapping lines to imply that. Whereas this, like, so maybe I need like, you know, crossbars up here or something like, you know, if these are all maybe this is the underside of something. And then we could do something closer and then something further away, right? So you're just basically creating the same horizontal lines that all converge. It's just so rare because I don't do that typically on this top, and I need to be more comfortable doing that. Because when I don't have that ground plane, it's like, it feels weird to just have everything fade off into nothingness. But I think this works, I think. Why does my nose itch? It always does, like, on the inside of my nose. Like, I want to pick my nose. Not actually, but just like... It's only when I'm streaming. I don't know why. It's very uncomfortable. Let's see. Maybe something like this. Just some pillars. Cursed by the itchy nose witch. Seriously. I think this works. Always at the most inappropriate moments, right? Like, why now? Or why at all? But especially now. Okay, but yeah, I'm trying to do some sort of 3-point perspective thing, but I'm also not sure what I want to do, like, over here. Do I continue this down? I don't want to just mirror it. I wanted to have some sort of asymmetry. Just Fiction, hope you're doing well. Did I already say that? I think I said that. Let's see. Maybe there's like rock structures going down like this. Okay, I have an idea. Hey, Vegas! How's it going? Long time no see, kinda, sorta. Kinda, sorta. Hasn't been that long. Okay, maybe there's like rock structures, and these things are built out of the rock structures. But not enough for it to completely like show the ground plane. It's like a cavern, right? Because like, or not a cavern, like a yeah, it's just like the ground, right? And then we are going into the depths here. Been a month or two. I've been kind of busy lately. Hopefully it's been a good busy and not a bad busy. Bad busy being things like being sick or taking care of someone who is sick, or tons of, I don't know, losing your job, or I don't know. That stuff can make you busy and not good busy. But good busy is like you have a lot of work and you're happy to do it and you're getting paid a bunch, or things are just changing in your life for the better, but it's still taking a lot of time. That kind of stuff. You ever see imagery of sunken forests? Could also be interesting. With greens and murky water yellow. Yeah, like some kelp fields or something as well. Yeah, there's a lot of greens and yellows that we could use. Yeah. I'll probably do more playing with color here in a little bit. A little bit of both? No. Well, that's good, I think. Maybe. There. That's pretty cool in terms of lighting, I think, with that bright light up top. This is like the water above. I like that. I think that's nice. And then down here, maybe we don't have to have caustics in every image, but you know what? Caustics sure are cool. Would we get caustics down here? It kind of depends, right? I guess if it's far enough down, you probably won't see any caustics. I like where this is going. We can probably add some murky it up a bit. Trying to make it feel epic, you know, or like just the scale being massive. But also now I want to think about what are we painting? So like, is this a kingdom? Maybe there's this is like a castle or something, and maybe it's not just like this. It can just be the bones of it. You doing mermaid? Yeah, I want to do a mermaid painting. That's why I'm doing an underwater scene. This is my mermaid painting, just underwater stuff. So no actual mermaids, probably. Maybe we will. I don't know if I'll put mermaids in it. I'll probably put like little indicators of mermaids, like you know, like maybe a guard mermaid. It's guarding a doorway. He's a big merfolk. A mer guard. A mer guard. I'm trying to do something for a challenge that will probably make me regret ever wanting to draw anything ever. Oh no! What is the challenge and why is it going to make you feel this way? Okay, little spear, trident. I don't know why mer people always use tridents. I guess because like they're heavy, they're front loaded, and you can throw them. Is that why? Why tridents? Whatever. Like how? What's the lore behind tridents and mer people? It's a mermaid challenge, nothing special, but I want to do a fight scene. Ooh, that'd be cool. Yeah, what I'm doing is I'm gonna spend a couple days on this. I'm not gonna do it all at once. And I'm just to like plan things, and there's a Greek god with tridents. True. Yeah, maybe that's why. I guess it just comes from the OG lore. But yeah, it feels, I mean, it does seem like tridents would work well, like spears and harpoons, like that stuff works well underwater. Tridents are Would they work worse than spears? I feel like a spear would work better though. Just a heavy front-tipped spear. I feel like tridents are kind of weird shaped, and like there's going to be a lot of weird resistance of water there when you throw it. I don't know. Or do you just stab with them? I don't actually know. What do you do with tridents? Do you stab or do you throw them? I know in Minecraft you throw them. But like, is there any like precedent set for like, or not precedent? What am I looking? What's the word I'm looking for? Like historical, yeah, like historical precedent set for like how you use tridents underwater. Like, were there people who would like spearfish? I mean, I know spearfishing's a thing, but what about trident fishing? Like, do you throw them? Do you stab them? Why? What's the other than like? I need a historian who knows about mythology and why tridents, and if that was just somebody, some artist or storyteller made that up and then the world ran with it, or is that like, did it come from something in history where like this makes sense for underwater? Like, obviously humans never did like a water battle, like underwater battles. Like, that's not like a thing, right? Obviously we'd have to like, long before scuba diving was a thing. Spearfishing spears have been used like multiple tips to increase the area of stabbing. Is it? Is that a thing? Okay. That would make sense, I guess. Kinda. I guess if you're fishing from above water, right, all the weird light refraction might make it hard to aim. So maybe they had multiple teeth on their spears just so like if they miss. I think Poseidon is one of the main reasons, but it was also a fishing tool. Yeah, but I mean, like, Poseidon came from somewhere, right? Like somebody was like, "Oh, this is what the depiction of Poseidon is." So like somebody invented the modern imagery of Poseidon. So there's like that came from somewhere. And like, why did he have a trident? Like, would I don't know. Nobody probably not. Assad Goku, hello, welcome. That's like from 3,000 years ago. Yeah, I'm sure we don't have good answers. That's why I'm just asking them. I'm just throwing them into the internet, just throwing them out there. Okay, this is gonna be a mer person. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's I don't know. I'm just making a shape. But yeah, I'm doing mermaid, which is May, drawing mermaids. But today I think is like, the theme is like childhood crush or something. I'm not doing that. We could draw like, school children playing or something. Like a school of merfish or something. But I am just drawing, just doodling, and just seeing where I go, and maybe a painting that will turn into a mermaid painting. Maybe these things have multiple there are multiple shapes. It's not super one-dimensional. Hello. Hope you're doing well. We can only speculate kind of stuff, I think. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's some, like, a lot of times in history, right, there's, like, a first mention of something, right? And then there's, like, or you can see an incremental, like, you can see how things change over time, and you can kind of, and then there's a gap, and then they pop up, and it's something else. So I think a lot of times, like, with history is really interesting. I don't know. Like, all the research that can be done in scouring old documents and finding the first mentions of things that probably isn't the mentioning. Like, if I were to look up a trident, like, it probably wasn't called tridents, right? Maybe they had a different name for it. and then that name probably also has changed because like linguistically things change over time, and so it's not just like, oh, when is the first trident mentioned, but like you'd have to really know your history and like dive into old things and accounts of stuff. Like it's really interesting. There's some cool. I don't know. The older I get, the more I think history is cool. When I was a kid, I thought history sucked. It was like my least favorite subject. I didn't want to know about history. It was all boring, except for the ancient Egyptians. That was cool. Anything like ancient Egypt was awesome with like pharaohs and mummies and the pyramids, of course, and all that, and like sarcophaguses and all the, I don't know, everything ancient Egypt was awesome when I was a kid, but most like history just felt like it was just wars, and I just didn't care. And like maybe the emphasis was like I'm pretty sure whatever we were taught in school or whatever the goals of my teachers were in school with history, I'm pretty sure I missed all of it. Like maybe the goal was to show like, you briefly mention the war and then you focus on like how societies changed from before and after these conflicts, right? So like this empire fell or changed after this conflict with another empire, and then you can sort of compare and contrast how these empires changed over time. Like that's cool, but I always felt it wasn't about that. I felt like we focused way more on like the big like the big players in the wars and conflicts, and we never actually like I never felt like I actually understood why I cared, because like you never got like a good sense of like the before and after kind of it was more of like the political crap, and I don't care about like why an army attacked and not really. Like I'm more interested in like the aftermath or like how the world changed, or I don't know, just like I get in context it's probably quite interesting, but I think learning it, I just didn't know enough to know why it would be cool. I don't know. History has always been weird to learn about. And I feel like having a good teacher, I feel like totally makes or breaks its subject because it's stories. I mean, it's literally in the word history. Whereas something like math, for me, was cool just because it was math and like you could understand how a thing could be used simply based on what it did, and you didn't even need that many examples of like real world examples for me to imagine all the real world examples. But with history, it was like I needed it kind of spelled out for me a bit more, I think. But it's kind of a shame that I felt that way, or that I feel that way. No, I don't feel that way anymore. But it's a shame that I felt that way because again, in hindsight, history, especially for like doing art, right? I feel like history and storytelling and learning about these things, like arguably that's more, not more important than like math. I think actually math has been useful to understand some math, but it's, I don't know. I feel like history is super valuable, especially if you're doing storytelling and in art, which I don't do a ton of, but it's kind of there. I kind of like these shapes. My main issue with history is mostly memorization. So same, and that's why I didn't like it. Is like you had to remember random people's names and also dates, and you had no context. At least for me, I had no context of like. I mean, you know how people, especially when you talk about math or stats or anything, like when you're talking about numbers, right? That the concept that like humans are really bad at like big numbers. History was that, right? I couldn't differentiate between 1400 and 1600. To me, that was just a long time ago. My brain can't understand, but that's 200 years, and like a lot can happen in 200 years, and a lot did happen. But for me, the dates were just a big mush of numbers. Like everything before the 1900s was just a long time ago, right? And I never really formulated a concept in my head of like what 300 years ago versus 1,000 years ago. Like how different was the world? I have no idea. Like like industrial revolution, I don't know crap about. Like I don't know how the world changed over the course of 100 or 200 years pre-industrial revolution. Like yeah, I know some of the history from like industrial revolution onward, or like enlightenment type area onward, but wait, actually maybe I don't even know what the enlightenment was. When was the hold on. When historically, when was that? 17th and 18th century is cultural movement. Renaissance was before the Enlightenment. Okay, so like, wait, Enlightenment was like math and science. Renaissance was like art and another cultural movement, right? I don't really know what the difference is, honestly. I know those were two movements in history. Following the French Revolution. That's where you lose when you start saying like following the French Revolution, and it's like I don't know. I'm so bad at wars and revolutions and changes in power, and I know that's what history people like to focus on because it's a good framework for stuff. But I think when you're, at least for me, when I was learning history is like in school, it didn't help to talk about a war by its name because I couldn't, there was no, it was just like a thing that happened, but I couldn't tell you in the context of like the world, sort of, I couldn't place it. It was like this nebulous concept. It had a name, you learned some facts about it, and it just kind of existed in this bubble in my mind. And it's like, okay, but what does that have to do with anything? Like, why do I care about this? Because I never actually understood it well enough. Like, I understood enough to pass a test, right? Memorize the dates, memorize the random stuff. Of course it's related. It's absolute lots of stuff. Like, yeah, wars are, like I say, I think wars are probably a really useful way to understand history, and changes of power, and like how one thing changes into another based on wars and conflicts, and it's probably super useful. But to a school aged person, that was the least interesting thing you could possibly talk about. You mentioned war or revolution or conflict, and it was just like, I don't care. I don't care about some people fighting other people. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe that was something that I think a lot of teenagers do like, but I thought that was just, again, I know it's not about what you like, but it wasn't salient. It didn't stick in my brain. It wasn't interesting enough for me to care or remember because I didn't care. And it felt, and like, at least if I could see like a real world application, again, like in math, where, you start talking about geometry, I'm like, oh, I could understand how if I wanted to build something, I could use this. It didn't mean that it was like inherently more exciting. It was just, it felt useful, and so I understood why it might be worth paying attention to, and I could kind of get into it because of that. With history, it was very hard for me to understand why I care. Now that I'm older, history seems more and more awesome, and I do care about it, and I think it is useful, and I can start to connect those dots more. But I just never, I'm a big believer that like, if you learn like the framework for something early, and then you live your life with sort of a base knowledge, like it's very easy later to like just take something and stick it on top of that base knowledge, right? And you just sort of expand out. And I think for me, that's kind of what happened with art, where like I learned some very just basically through dumb luck and good fortune of like, you know, one being kind of interested in art as a young kid, and then like my mom, I just like by pure happenstance learning how to draw like three-dimensional cubes, right? Stuff like that, where you just learn some basic foundational stuff. You learn enough of it early, and then you can just start building on top of it as you live. You don't have to like actively work on it. You just have that base knowledge, and then you can start comparing things later in your life. Like, oh, that thing's kind of like that other thing I knew, right? I never learned that with history. I never learned a base framework for stuff because it was all just dates and random things. It didn't feel like I had a good, like, you know what? Have you seen those videos? And again, I don't like to make the claim that like a science video is better than what we learned in school, but you know those, there was like an hour long, was it hour long? It was like an hour or 2 hour long Kurzgesagt video where it goes through the history of the world, and it goes through like all the different ages of like the dinosaurs and the different, you know, the plants taking over and like dying and different things happening, and it names them and sort of tells a story. It tells a story of like the history of sort of in just big broad strokes, right? Really, really vague, big stroke kind of thing, zoomed out view. And it just kind of goes through the ages, if you will, of just like the history that we know of the Earth. I think that kind of framework, I don't feel like I ever got that. Even that 2 hour video that I watched, you know, 2 years ago on YouTube, I felt like, granted, I wasn't ever tested on it, I wasn't quizzed on it, I genuinely have forgotten a lot of it already. But that kind of thing, just like having a framework to like build on, and so that when you do learn about some empire, you can place it, and you're like, oh, this is, and obviously the frameworks have to be more zoomed in, right? You can't be talking about like, you know, 1 million years ago or 2 million years ago, and then talk about, you know, some empire, because that's gonna be, you know, that's like in the last few hundred years, right? That's nothing compared to that. But it's still just that framework never really happened for me. It's not that we didn't learn it. I just didn't learn it. Yeah, for math, it's more of a framework that can be used anywhere. History is mostly memorizing names and dates. Well, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be, Vegas. Like, I don't think history has to be like that. There's been good, I've stumbled on good history stuff where they tell it in like a story, and you learn about sometimes characters, and sometimes the characters are civilizations, and you don't need to know names. You just need to know, like, you don't even need to know anything. It's just more about, they paint the setting for you. You can, they talk about it in a way that you can visualize like if you were there, right? This is what you'd be doing. This is how you'd be living. And they just, it's not about dates and names and all that. And I think, and I know when you're taking tests, that's what they test you on. Like, do you know the name of this? But yeah, in school, it was that. And that was my issue with it too, was that it did just feel like dates and names, and there was no framework. Like, that's not a framework to memorize dates and names, because you don't know what the date means. I mean, you memorize it, but it's not an understanding. Like, I think for me, and again, I'm only saying this because that was my experience, but I think history for me was so much more dependent on a good teacher, because I felt like I needed a teacher who could tell a story. I mean, it's in the name history, right? If you can't tell the story of history, if you can't walk people through it with imagery, visual, you know, using your words to paint the picture, I just don't feel like you're going to connect with people. And I never had a teacher like that until sort of, you know, like even just like there's like there's a podcast called Hardcore History, which I haven't listened to much of it, but it seems like they do a really good job of like painting the scene for you, and you can sort of experience it. And they talk about things that's pretty cool, and you feel like you learn a lot. And even in college, I took some history classes because my first year of college we had to, and they were awful. They were literally just memorize a bunch of crap and then regurgitate it basically on a test. And it was so dumb. And people would like, because of the way the testing was, it didn't encourage you to learn because it was so condensed. You felt like the only way you could reasonably pass was just pure memorization, because you didn't have enough time to really like soak it in. They try to like zoom by all this material, and you couldn't like spend time, like there was no discussion, there was no nothing. It was just like teacher standing up there talking, and then you're expected to like read some stuff and then now know everything. It just felt like it was a useless thing, and it makes me a little angry because history is so cool. And yet every history teacher, pretty much every history teacher, arguably the best history teachers I've ever had were like science teachers who talk about the history of science and the history of like a very small piece of a thing, and like you learn how science or communication or mathematics sort of developed over the years. Like that felt useful because that was like the history of something. Whereas history classes felt more like the history of wars. Like, why wars? Like, I would rather learn the history of map making, or the history of clothing materials, or the history of building materials, or how people built homes over time. Like anything other than the history of wars. Like there's so much cool stuff out there. I don't know. It felt disconnected, and yeah. Anyway, I'm a little annoyed because it's such a cool topic, and it was the one thing that I felt like I just never had a teacher who told it in a way, or taught it in a way that captivated me or my classmates. I always felt like my classmates hated it too. I don't even think I grew up with a single person who's like, I love history. I don't think it existed. I think all of my teachers sucked at history, or it sucked at teaching history. And I feel like I was let down. Okay, anyway, I'm painting underwater scenes. Okay, so this is a potential one. We got our upward looking view. Most people like violence, I think, so that is what people connect to. Well, yeah, but I don't think that's why they teach. So I think I understand why history teachers teach it from the perspective of wars and conflicts, because that's where a lot of change happens, and that change is what you like. That's the thing that you're caring about, is like how things change over time. Because if it doesn't change for 200 years, then what's there to learn about, right? Like nothing happened for 400 years. Great. So no, you focus on those parts between change. But that's what is a good framework from like a high level understanding of like somebody who studies the subject versus trying to introduce people to the subject, I think is totally different, right? It's like you don't dump someone into mathematics and talk about all the theory behind like the high level cutting edge math, new theories and cutting edge mathematics. You don't talk about that stuff because nobody's going to understand it, right? I feel like it doesn't, I don't know. Like, I don't really have a big opinion on how to teach history because, quite frankly, I don't know. It's not something but it does feel like, it seems like it's good to learn about conflicts. Like, it's obviously a super important thing to know, but it's also like the most boring thing for me to learn about, and also, again, my peers, I think, when I was a kid. But yeah, I do think some people do genuinely like the conflict. Like, I had a neighbor friend who loved wars, just really into war. Like, anything World War II related, and he'd know like different names of tanks and guns and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is the most boring crap I've ever seen. Like, why do we care? Anytime there's a new movie Saving Private Ryan or those kind of like Dunkirk type movies. Those were like the coolest things ever, and just loved war movies. I'm like, oh, they're so boring. Everything war just sucks in terms of like entertainment value. I don't know, just it wasn't interesting to learn about for me. And I realize it's just me and my opinion and, just my taste. But my goodness, it sucks that I never got into it, because now the more that I learn about history, it's cool. I actually got way more interested in history through art history, learning about wars and timelines through the framework of how artists were responding made it click for me. See, that sounds cool too. I think learning about the history of something through some other small framework that you can actually care about, to me, makes way more sense. And again, this is why I think some of the best history teachers that I had were the science teachers, because they would talk about how the theories and how the ideas developed over time. And you kind of could understand that, like, oh, back some hundreds of years ago, this is the way people thought about this particular topic. And then as things progressed, here's how they thought about this new topic. And also, here's how the world looked because they didn't have these technologies. And here's some of the things society was built around because they had these sort of these wrong views of how the world worked, right? They didn't know any better. And so they had some systems that came out from that. And you start to learn how the world looked through the lens of like science or technology. That's not how my history classes were set up. History classes were, like Vegas pointed out, were basically dates and wars. And, obviously that's a little bit of, I'm sure I'm glossing over things that I, zoned out in. But yeah, it's disappointing. An art history class would have been awesome. Well, see, that's the thing. Would I have cared about an art history class? Probably not, to be honest. I probably wouldn't have cared. I don't know. I don't know if I would have cared about an art history class. I think I would have cared about the history of anything that I kind of sort of could relate to. So like the history of agriculture, which I in fairness, is a thing that we learned in history. I vaguely remember there was a little bit of like agricultural history and like when agriculture came about, and you kind of learned some of that. But I feel like even that, all they talked about was like the big things. So you really learned like one big date or one big event where this is when agriculture kicked off. And that's not history. That's one point, right? I need like multiple points in this timeline so that you can connect them and learn, history. It's that you can learn the story, not just one event. And so I feel like in some cases in my education, we almost got there where like, you focus on a thing that people can kind of like, oh, this is how we get our food now. This is how they got their food back then. And here's a few steps in between. And if you go back even further, this is kind of what it looked like. Like that could have been a nice way to learn about history. But I feel like it was all that was just like a footnote. And the real thing we were talking about was like the wars. Anyway, thank you for the follow. Thanks for popping in, coming to join my rant. No, I'll try not to rant too much, but I do rant sometimes. Not really rant, ramble. Ramble's a better word. Rant makes it sound like I'm angry. I'm not angry. Just disappointed. No. Okay, what am I painting right now? So I'm trying to paint some underwater scenes, and I'm trying to avoid your standard blue color palette. I'll probably use some purples, some greens, a little bit of blue. I will use some blue. but not a ton. Maybe this is like a castle. Ooh, hold up. Actually, I kind of like the idea that there's... Okay, these are not going to be strictly a building, but I'm thinking some sort of building, maybe some coral or shell-shaped building. Yeah, something. I'm struggling to finding good fighting poses that look interesting for me people. For me people. Vegas, do you ever do like the sketch of like composition and like sort of not imagine the poses, but I'm going to use that word loosely here. Do you ever like imagine the poses and sort of compositionally sketch them out, and then like obviously they're not going to be super great because you don't have any references, but then try to like find references for that, or like shoot your own references for it, like, you know, set up a camera on a timer or set up your phone on a timer camera and do like strike a pose, because I feel like for action scenes that would be probably easier, right? Like if you had an action scene, because then you could be like, you know, I want to find a scene where, you know, we are, you know, you have a character, you're looking up at him, you know, his head is up here, you know, and he's getting punched in the jaw by a fist, and, you know, the person is, you know, their head is here, and like, you know, this person's head is back here, and their body is gonna be flinging this way or so, you know, like, I don't know how their body's gonna look because I don't know how to draw people, but like, I just don't know what people look like or how. Well, that's the thing. Like, I think you could probably do some basic stuff, right? Like, you know, maybe there's a foot coming this way, and like, is this gonna be accurate? Probably not. But, you know, and here's a shoulder. Again, does this look like a? Here, let's use a darker line for, you know, this is the this. Like, is this gonna be a great thing? No, but this starts to do like a pose, right? You try, but it looks janky? Gotcha. Because, like, I feel like doing something like this, and then it will look janky, right? Because you aren't using reference. But then you can go and, like, you know, okay, I need a pose of me over the shoulder punching forward, right? And then I need another person falling back right here. And, like, that way then you still have the composition it set up, you know, or whatever you're trying to do for like an action. Because that's how I feel like I would want to paint. If like, I'd want to be able to plan the thing sort of through the action and storytelling, rather than, I mean, I don't think one way is better than the other. That's the way I think I would want to do it. And that's actually why I struggle with characters so much, is because that stage is really hard. But yeah, I don't know. Because I feel like you get more opportunity to push and pull, like, you know, foreshortening and compositional elements that way. I don't know. I feel like for action poses specifically, because they're so varied. Stramigal, happy Saturday. How are you, Stramigal? Hope you're doing well. Okay, these are gonna be something. Some sort of underwater... Maybe they're steam vents. Hold on. I like the idea of little vents. I'm good. That's good. Glad to hear it. Yeah, whenever I do that sort of, that way of sketching with people, I always find that it never ends up looking that great when I end up combining it. Because I know that I have lots of lots of gaps in my knowledge. Haven't really figured out how to make it unjanky yet. Gotcha. Yeah. I think I always like my sketch, and I'm like, ooh, this is looking good. I like the composition, and then it's like the trying to combine everything. But I also feel like whenever I start with like a pose, I always feel like it's not quite pushed or pulled, and then it in the way that I want for like storytelling. And then if I try to do it from an existing photo, that photo is going to be even worse than if I were to take it myself, because you can't just like move something and then not have like the balance of the character be off. You know what I mean? Like if somebody's standing with their arms out to the side, you can't just like put them behind them and maintain the same pose. Like they might fall over, right? And so you kind of oftentimes the poses that look natural, you're like, oh, what if I just move the arm forward? No, that doesn't work, because I mean, it might, but now it's like the whole balance of the pose is gonna feel weird, and that's always been my struggle. So it always, yeah. Okay, what am I doing here? Maybe some green. I don't know if I want too much green underwater. Maybe we do like, I don't know. I'm just trying to play with colors right now. Actually, let's do hold on, a separate layer. Kind of fun. Now the question is, do I want stuff that's this large in scale, or do I want it more like up close? You know, like you know, if this is something up close, like do I want it like this, where we have the foreground is really, really close? I'm not sure. Like this definitely has a look to it, right? This is like that reference that I had earlier, kind of. But maybe we have stuff in the top. I don't know. These kind of have like sulfur vent vibes. Some bubbles, some steam going up. Bubbles, I don't know. I posted a couple of your current sketches in the Discord sketch of work in progress channel. Ooh, let's take a look. Sketches and works in progress. Ooh, I like these. I like the looseness. I mean, it's hard for me to even tell what I'm looking at, to be honest, but I can understand enough that like you could probably understand what's happening. And that's the main thing, right? Well, I mean, the first ones are very clear because they're much more like bold stick figures. The second one's much more gestural, which I really like them. I it's hard a little bit to tell what your vision was, because they're so loose, but I do like it. See, I feel like on the first one, only because I can read it a little better, because I'm not you. I actually think the second one's probably better, but I like the first ones because I can tell what they are. But I feel like you could probably take photos of yourself or somebody in those poses better than you'd be able to find references. And I feel like mermaid photos or mer people photos are even more hard to find, because like it's not always just from ground level, but like you have all rotations, right? Because you're in water. Also, I'm wondering, do I want to I'm wondering if I don't want to do like a full character. Like, what if a character... Okay, that just looks creepy, but like a character here, or Like, what scale do I want to paint at? That's the question I want to answer. You posted a couple of your current sketches in the... Oh, I already read that. Because I could do, like, a full-on character, which I don't really want to do. I should probably do a gesture. And with lines. But, like, you know, character here. I'm looking... I have a reference here, but... You know, like, the back of the character... Something like that. So you have a character here. Arm, hand, flipper hand, webbed. Other hand, flipper, and then you have like the back of the character. And then here, this is where I'm thinking like how might this character be, I don't know, like other things behind it. Cuz like this is very kind of looks like they're dabbing. They're not supposed to be dabbing. But yeah, just like a character kind of blobbing their way through here. Because now I'm thinking, like, what if they're swimming through, like, an underwater city and you can see stuff in the background? Or is this the focal depth too much? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I could just take this character and stick them in here, right? Obviously, makes no sense. But, like, I don't think that would work, right? Because well, okay, that's definitely wouldn't work. Painting on the wrong layer, too, so that doesn't help. But yeah, this kind of thing makes me think it's just, this would be like a full character sketch, and I don't really want to do a character sketch. That's what I'm doing now, just to find a composition I like. That first one looks almost too kid cartoonish poses. The second looks closer to what I want, but doesn't look very natural or motion feels weird. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good to play around, even if you don't end up using those. Like maybe you end up just finding a pose because you like that outcome better. I think as long as you spend some time doing that, like again, this isn't me telling you what to do, but like for me, I feel like as long as I spend some time trying sort of to like do the sketching and I'm making some progress of like I don't need the outcome to be based on this way of painting where I'm doing like a gesture and then figuring out composition and I find my own reference like later or make my own reference or whatever. But I do feel like it's a good exercise to do rather than just like let me find reference first. Although in this case I literally have reference. I have this. But you guys can't see that. I have this. So that's basically, I found a random scene from Avatar. I think that's from Avatar, right? I assume it's from Avatar. Probably the second one or third one. But anyway, I'm not actually going to use it, but I am just trying to think, how would I, because like in this scene, all you see is water. And I don't like that. It'd be kind of cool to have... I don't know. Like, what if they're going through a spot? I don't know. He could be going through something like an old ruins. I want somewhere in between. Gosh, this is this thing where, like, on one hand, I like these far away scenes, but then I feel like they're not that interesting because they're so impersonal, right? This one I kind of feel like is cool because you at least have like a storytelling where like you have like a guard with a trident or something. And so there's kind of a story there, and it feels like this character, even though he's a silhouette, at least is more important. This feels so character central that it's hard to get a sense of like, oh, they're swimming through and like, you know, swimming through the coral or something. But on the other hand, it would be pretty cool to have like an environment with a bunch of like coral or kelp or plants and have like a character swimming through, like brushing their hand against those plants. Kind of like in Avatar, where they're like touching all those plants and they light up. Not underwater, but like above land in like the first one. Or no, what they didn't light up, did they? I think they lit up when they touched them. But there's also like those plants that were all open, and when they touched them, they all closed. And then the big rhino thingy hit the plants, and then they all closed, and it was like a defense mechanism. Like that was cool too. And I feel like having a character, you know, looking up, kind of to the side, like mimosas. Isn't that a drink? Like mimosas. I don't know. Maybe? Maybe like mimosas. I'm not sure. Possibly. I'm not sure what you're saying. Okay, so here's a character. Like maybe the character is, I should probably do this. Like touching the plants. It's a kind of plant. Oh, I didn't know that. When you touch it, leaves, they kind of fold up. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Okay, so here's a creature swimming. This one is gonna be hand forward. Big chunky hands. So something like that, maybe? I feel like you'd want them to be looking upward, right? And I realize this looks silly as heck, but that's okay. Let's take a look. Yeah, like that, exactly. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so this, obviously you can't tell what I'm painting here, but I was thinking this was gonna be the head of like a character. Nose, mouth, gill thingies on the sides of the head, because, you know, this is a mer person, and that's how I draw mer people. And then here is like, this should probably be higher up. Like an arm here. Again, I will obviously have to find a reference for this. But the idea, I think at this stage, like, here, so far I haven't had a reference for this one. And then here we'll have, like, a plant or something that they're, like, running their fingers through, or something. I don't know. Again, obviously the arm makes no sense. None of this makes sense, but I think we could get something similar. But also we have these shapes. Where's an arm here? Cherub, doses, and mimosas. Don't know that. Don't know that song. I'm trying to think. Okay, so here's a character. Give them some shoulders. Right now there are no shoulders to this character. Are we Anthony Jonesing it with the sculpting? I think that's what we're doing. We're gonna just start sculpting a character. Now I see the scene from Singing in the Rain. I don't know that one, but maybe that's what I'm drawing. Okay, so this is where I do need I need proper anatomy, but also this should probably be this way, right? Some sort of hand. Again, I don't know how to draw hands. Hand should be thumb facing inward. But maybe it's like a flipper, so maybe they have like that, like a webbed hand. I don't know. You're good at characters? I'm not good at characters, but I can fumble my way through. I don't know how to draw hands. I mean, I haven't... This'll work. Underside of the hand here. Moses supposes his toes are roses, but Moses supposes erroneously. Well, this gesture all has potential? Yeah, I think it has some potential. Don't quite know what's happening back here. And then, yeah, then we'll have, like, the plants and the flowers and stuff here. I don't know. It's something. And of course, again, now let's add some value because this thing's very, very dark, right? The character will be in light. This will be darker back here. Again, it is underwater, so this stuff will be quite dark. But maybe this stuff's bright and glowy. Now, is this a scene that... Do I like this? I mean, it's kind of cool. We could do a character here. Okay, so maybe if this is the character... Well, let's just start sculpting it. Again, don't really know how to do characters, but you know what? This is a mer creature. They don't have to have human anatomy. I think Vegas says I think also I'm trying to find a way to make both faces at least partially visible, but in a duel. That is kind of hard. Yeah, that makes me think of like that. It's like the meme, the Escher girl or the Escher person pose, where like you're showing the chest and the butt at the same time, and like in this weird, twisted, strange pose of like trying to like distort trying to distort people in a way that like shows off everything. Forgot about it. Yeah, I forgot about it too, Skittle. That's why I'm doing it today. There's like that classic. Here, let me find it. You guys probably know what I'm talking about, but let me. I don't know if that's the real name. The Esh. Wait. Escher. I'm just trying to find a. Basically, this pose, which is. I just found a random anime thing where it's showing like the characters is the backside of them is turned away like towards you, but then somehow also they're looking at you, and like there's like a weird twisty motion in somewhere happening in the middle of them that like isn't very it doesn't really make a lot of sense of like how you can turn your torso, and also it's just a very strange pose. And it's like super common, and there's some extreme examples of it. um you've never heard of reference as an Escher pose? It's kind of, I think there's like a meme, I think similar to like the traveling stick salesman, where it's like kind of turned into a meme. Oh yes, there's an entire Pinterest of like Escher girl poses or whatever. Just it's called Escher girls, and it's basically just this. No, actually, this I don't know what this one is. Is it just distorted figures, character drawings of people drawing bad anatomy? Anyway, I think it's funny. It's just like it's almost like a trope. I don't know exactly, or a meme. I don't know what you call it, but yeah, I feel like trying to draw like two characters looking in different directions but both get their faces in frame is really hard, right? That's like it's almost a a problem that feels like it's breaking physics or something. Like how do you But I think you could probably do that where like, one person is looking kind of towards this, and then you have another person like here, for example, looking back, and so like you kind of it's side view. You see both the sides of their face. Like you could totally have a fight, but then their bodies could be at other angles, right? Because people can turn their head, right? It's one thing when you turn the entire like twisting the person completely, but like they could turn their head, so you could have one person looking back or something, and um but yeah. Anyway, drawing some funky hair. Now, is this character going to look like a person? I don't know. Or is it going to look more like an alien? Probably more like an alien, because it's going to be a creature. I don't know what's happening with the mouth here. Trying my best to channel my Anthony Jones robot pencil. Who I never really got into his videos, but he is good at this, like the sculpting, painting like a sculptor kind of vibe. Who? Anthony Jones? I think that's his name. Am I thinking the wrong person? Yeah, Anthony Jones. I think that's it. I I I think it's just Robot Pencil on YouTube. He does a lot of like character concept art. Robot Pencil / Anthony Jones. You did a mentorship with him a while back. Oh, that's cool. But yeah, anyway, he does a lot of like sculpting, painting kind of concept art where he just kind of, you know, plays with shapes, explores things. He has a pretty good grasp of anatomy. Yeah, he's good for, yeah, he does a lot of stuff like that really well. I think he's really good at yeah, particularly anatomy. And so he has these, like, it almost looks like a 3D model, kind of. And so he doesn't need to do 3D sculpting, really, because he's just kind of cranking out the forms. Yeah, I don't know what I would need to find references for this. I'm just making shapes at this point. But I think I can do some, like, I don't know how this shoulder connects, right? Like, shoulders are weird. And so what's happening here, right? I have no idea. Like, there's some, there's a gap in my knowledge of what's happening right there. Also, like, how is the shoulder connecting this way? Probably like that, right? See, like, I don't know these shapes. Something like that? He can get like 80% complete 20 minutes for something pretty amazing. Yeah. Yeah, he does a good job with that. He knows his stuff, especially with like characters and sculpting. Some Medusa. I do a lot of like Medusa-y hair. Maybe we'll change it up. We'll do like seashell or something. Some sort of other type of hair or head something. Maybe it's more like corally shapes. I don't know how the back shape of this creature is gonna look. Maybe just blend it away. His voice on his YouTube bugs me a bit. He doesn't sound quite like when I did the mentorship. Yeah, I've never really got into his YouTube videos. Like, I know enough about him, and a lot of people use him as like an example of someone who's really good at what he does, and I think that's totally valid. But I never really, I don't know, his videos never quite landed for me. Which is funny, because I think in some ways, like, I can kind of see, like, I don't know how to word this without sounding silly, because he's obviously extremely good at what he does, and I would never compare myself to him. Certainly not in skill. But I do see a bit of, like, most of what he does feels more like a demo, even when he's doing, quote-unquote, something educational. It still feels like a demo. Not it's more of like, look at what I'm doing, rather than here's this super valuable thing, which is funny because I like, on one hand I don't really like that, but I kind of feel like that's kind of what I'm doing on stream. Like, I'm more or less just painting my own stuff and then kind of talking about what I'm doing, but it still ends up being more of a demo than an explanation, because there's a lot of stuff, as pointed out last stream, that I kind of gloss over. And I definitely am not claiming to be on that level, so it's kind of absurd of me to even make that comparison. But I in terms of like the tone of the videos, I don't know, it kind of does remind me of my own painting in some way. And the stuff he talks about is not always related to drawing. True. Fair point. Also similar to streaming. Not always related. And it does feel more like just, yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. It's a... I should probably just jump into color, though. Also, what should we do for mermaid people? Also, what's going on here? Is this the back? Is this their butt? Where's their butt? I feel like this is their chest, their torso. Then we have the butt of them here. And then maybe they're going like this with the legs. It's kind of a weird pose, right? What's happening with their torso shape? Are they going like this maybe? And their feet are going up in the sky? I'm not sure. I don't know how to make this pose work. It feels like a disembodied just torso right now. I mean, it probably doesn't matter too much. There's probably lots of shapes I could take. You're liking the idea on this one? It's kind of fun, and I think maybe here, maybe I'll focus on the flowers. I'll make some big shapes. Maybe some kelpie shapes. I don't know, something like that. I feel like I've done stuff like this before. Also, maybe there's a like that. Maybe the light's coming from that direction. But thanks, Skittle. I'm glad you like it. Skittle, what are you working on right now? Okay, maybe this is a big old flower, an underwater flower. Like a big rose kind of looking thing. Okay, so now, okay, let's do something, because I've never really worked in this way before. So, I mean, I kind of have, but not really. Okay, so what I'm going to do is merge visible, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to do like a paint over, because right now the value structure makes no sense. So what if I come in here, try to get their face in light. Send help, working a little bit on finishing personal piece, also doing a bit of Hollow Knight art month. Oh, nice! And also now thinking about doing something for Mermaid. Dang, got a lot on your plate. Okay, so, says Vegas, I decided to make one of them facing more away from the camera. Should I show the cool face or hide it? Kind of want to hide it because it's so much work. Yo, how's it going, Stiller? Eric Malachite, how's it going? It's going. I'm drawing a character, kind of, sort of. I'm working on it. Away from the camera. Should I show the cool face? I mean, show the cool face, man. I mean, I think if you only have one face facing, to be honest. So you could also, depending on what the vibe you're going for, Vegas, and you probably know more examples than I could point out, because like from comics, but like you could have one face. You know how? So I know people do this in single character stuff a lot, where you have like a face that is rendered, but then you have shapes like the hair, which are just solid masses of shape, right? So you have like, let's say there's kelp or something in this hair, or dreadlocks or whatever, right? So you might have some of it, like just the ones that are important, like maybe just this front one, or maybe none of them. But like, so this will be rendered, but then everything else is a silhouette. And so maybe you have like some of the face, or one of the faces very detailed, and the other one, even if it's facing the camera, could just be in shadow, and it could just be like the silhouette. So you still get like a super like foreground and then background, you know, like, so you could still have them facing each other, or you could kind of have them both on screen, but the one that's further away is just kind of like not the main thing, right? So it's, I mean, a lot of that comes down to lighting, but that could be a thing. Because like I could add another character here looking at the same flower, right? How do I draw this, right? Right, you could do another character here looking at the same thing. But this one, it would just be a silhouette. So it would just be like, you know, just a character back here doing its thing, whatever shape the character would be. You know, just silhouetting stuff. And so you could have multiple characters in an image, but only one is really in frame. In fact, that would be kind of cool. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I will do this. This is actually kind of a fun idea. That way you get like... yeah, more bang for your buck. I don't know how to draw characters, though. Trying to draw two in one scene is ambitious. Maybe this character is more... yeah, maybe... okay, I should probably save. Maybe this character is more... facing us? And maybe they're more in the shadow? Maybe that's what we do. The problem is that that's not a very good silhouette. And the whole point was trying to have a good silhouette. No, that doesn't make sense. This is the flower. Hold on. The flower was going to be here. I wanted that to be a flower. The flower needs to be a silhouette. Dang it. What do I do back here? I mean, it does feel like it should be dark. I don't know. Also, I'll probably add clothing to this character. I'm just kind of making the general shape right now. Also, it kind of looks like wood, weirdly enough. Don't really know how to draw underwater characters that well. Or like mer creatures. At Skittle, says Eric Malachi. I also wanted to ask if I could pick your brain at some point about how you got your PNG tuber connected to Point Redemptions. I have a cute idea for an something style MST3K style theater for when people ask to watch YouTube videos, and I like to eventually have specific animations tied to point redeems, but if you're too busy, I can just use the internet. I don't know if Skittle will see that. He might not be here. Sometimes, you know, people lurk and leave it randomly. But maybe he will see that message. Wood? It looks like wood because I made this grain. Like I made these details or these shapes. It kind of made it look like wood grain. It wasn't intentional. It just purely happenstance. It's not, you know, it's not gonna be wood. Mystery Science Theater 3000, gotcha. Yeah, no, it's not intentional that it's gonna be wood or anything. It's just, it was pure, it was just because of the way that I drew it. It happened to look like wood grain. You don't see it? Okay.
it like it gave like if I were to go like this and like draw these little lines, it kind of looked like wood grain, like it was carved out of wood. But anyway, it was not supposed to be wood. It just happened to look like that to me. Also, the face is very strange looking, but that's okay. Gills. We need gills. What if the mermaid is made from driftwood? Maybe. Driftwood mermaid would be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool. Actually, that's a neat idea. I like that. See, Druffzilla, that's how, that is when we were talking about the creativity. That's right? That's the thing, right? You make something, you say, this kind of looks like that, right? And like, you know, oh, this kind of looks like wood. And then the question that I didn't ask that I could have would have been, well, what if it was, right? What kind of wood would it be? And then you're like, oh, driftwood in the ocean, right? So it's like, you can build, it just makes sense that you would get. Now, I didn't ask that question because I wasn't actively trying to come up with something different, right? But that would be the way to get there. And it doesn't seem like it's a, like there's a level of logic to it, right? That doesn't make it seem super amazing. But when you somebody, you know, if you know, fast forward a week from now, you know, you have a fully painted, well-designed driftwood creature, and you're like, wow, what a great idea, you know? And it's like, well, yeah, the idea is cool, but also it didn't start there. And anyway, that was the point I was trying to make, and that's the thing, right? Like it we were already talking about wood because I said it kind of looked like wood, and then I made it slightly look more like wood, and then you're like, oh, driftwood. I mean, I didn't think of it, you did. And so, you know, there's still that part of me that's like, wow, what an amazing idea, right? So, you know, yeah, anyway. Okay, how's this one? I like it. I think I have a hard time with gestures of other people. Like, and I know that I have this problem with my art too, where like it's not always clear to other people when if you look at a sketch, like where the shoulders are. I'm assuming one of the I can see one of the shoulders. I think the front shoulder. So it's hard to know like the rotation of the body, but I like it. I like the way it's, I like the looking upward, which I can see the angle of the face. That's cool. Also, are these mermaids with swords? Because that's awesome. I love the idea of mer people with swords. Probably not physics. I mean, honestly, swords feel like they would probably work pretty well underwater. Like, have you ever tried to swing like a? I think I haven't. I've never swung a sword underwater, but I'm pretty sure I've swung like some piece of like stiff plastic, and it slides really easy. It's hard to like change the angle because once it gets going in a direction, it just kind of keeps going in that direction. But like they flat pieces of things go really well underwater. Like, I feel like a sword would not be bad for underwater, to be honest. I feel like there could be far worse weapons. I mean, again, I'm sure some pokey stick would be better, but I don't know. It seems like it could work. Yeah, I'm tempted to just start painting.
got a flower. They're picking a flower. Maybe there's another creature. I feel like I want more creatures back here. Maybe there's fishies swimming. Add jail. Oh no! Wait, why do you have ads? Oh no. Did my internet bloop? Oh, it's been lagging a little bit. Accidentally reloaded. Oh. I was gonna say, you shouldn't be getting ads because I don't play ads, but I guess that, yeah, if you reloaded, that's a problem. How? Okay, I gotta ask, when you reload, how long are the pre-rolls? I actually don't know how long my pre-rolls are. And you probably can't hear me to answer. I hope you don't have to sit through, like, a long time. Hopefully it's not more than, like, 30 seconds. 6 years? It's 6 years, yeah. That honestly, it feels like it, I think, sometimes when I'm in other people's pre-rolls. Especially if there was, like, a conversation going on. It's like, oh my gosh, why... Okay, you know what? Drufzilla, I'm taking the idea, driftwood. I am making a driftwood mermaid. Or mer person. I'm taking it. Taking the idea. And maybe we'll keep expanding and see where it takes us, but I want to find some cool shapes of driftwood. Good old driftwood. Right there. Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool idea. And also there's some fun opportunity to play around with, like, silhouette, little knots in the wood. It's somewhat abstract or surreal or whatever you want to call it. Okay. But also, are we gonna have it move? I don't know how that's gonna work. Like, is it gonna have joints, or is it just like wood? Maybe it has to have some fleshy bits, right? So like around the neck and the jawline, like it's got to be able to. Maybe it's wearing a mask, a driftwood mask. So maybe there's scales here. Something like that. And then here, maybe we'll go darker. No, we gotta go lighter there. Alright, guys, I'm a character artist now. I've decided. How do I draw fingers? Maybe it doesn't matter. Do we want subsurface scattering here? I think we do, right? Right between the... Right here. Between the fingers. Big ol' fingers. He's given the A-OK sign. No, what's I wasn't trying to do that. Okay. He needs 5 fingers. I only drew 4. Dang it! I didn't draw enough fingers. AI confirmed. No, I'm pretty sure AI doesn't get fingers wrong anymore, does it? Do they? I feel like we're past that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about the shape here. It gets smaller. Yeah, I mean, you get tons of stuff wrong. It's garbage, but it's... that used to be like the easy criteria though to like, oh, you knew it was AI because it 6 fingers. Okay, I don't know what the bone in the arms look like. There's like an extra thing here, right? Like that? Or is it like this? So in adding lighting, you don't really think about where the light hit from, more about composition. I mean, kind of both, right? Because, like, if lights... I know light's coming from here because I've decided that their head's going to be in light. But, like, you know, does it need to have light back here? Technically, if light were coming evenly throughout all the water, this would probably be lit too, right? Because, like... But, like, maybe their hair is... You know, maybe it's at an angle where their own body is casting a shadow on the rest of their body. So, yeah, I mean, it is more about... I'm thinking more about composition. But there's also, like, the graphical... There's a... I don't know what... At one point, I think I saved art of this. But, like, there is a way of designing, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, where, like, you have... Let's say you have a shape. Let's say it's a... I'm trying to think of something real easy to draw. Just a face. Faces aren't easy to draw, but let's say you have a face. You know, here's a person's face. It's going to be lit from an angle. So you have a light, right? Here, let's darken the canvas first. Right? So you have a light right here. This is going to be in shadow. But once you get back around here, even though if you had another object over here, let's say, so let's say this is my object that I just lit, right? This is this little spotlight. Everything else is in shadow, right? So here's our little egg thingy, right? Which is going to be our character's face. Let's say this was going to be how I lit the character, right? And of course, I didn't do a very good job of making it a shadow, but anyway, you get the idea. It's like a ball from above, right? It's lit on one side. Technically, if I had another ball right here, right, you'd expect it would have the same lighting. But what you can do, especially if there's like stuff coming off of the ball, right, like hair or whatever, instead of trying to light all of the hair, you can just make it like a shape, right? You can just say compositionally, this stuff is going to be in light, and the rest of it, you know, whatever the other shapes are back here, whatever you have, maybe more spheres, those can just be graphical. And I don't know what you call that. Some people, so like sometimes when you see like characters with hair, right, you'll see like, here's the hair. And you'll have parts of the hair being lit, like this part of the hair might be lit. You know, some of the strands, you know, maybe there's some bangs or something. I don't know how to draw characters. I'm just drawing a ball here. So maybe you'll have some of the parts of the hair will have strands and it'll be lit. But mostly, you're just going to have a lot of like silhouette and shape design. So it's kind of a mix. Kind of like that. Like it's logically shadowed from the body. Yeah, that's a good example. Exactly. So like it's kind of lit logically, right? But also you could like this is obviously simplified, and like would you get no lighting? I mean, again, it kind of makes sense, right? Because the light's coming in from somewhere behind. But like, would none of this be in light? Probably not. I'm sure you'd see some light in here. The idea that everything is perfectly, you know, not in light. Or what about these? Does this not have the same amount of light as the character? Like, why not? Yes, there's technically a light from the direction, but it's still very clearly like there are. It's designed in a way to work well, right? Yeah, I think that's a good example. This one's not as stylized with the lighting, but you could see, like, back here, you could get, I mean, you could go pure black in these shapes, right? And you could probably have that work, right? It's sort of a graphical way of doing it. I don't know the best way to explain it. I probably did that kind of poorly, but yeah, I think sometimes it's pretty common to sort of I mean, it's kind of the same thing with environments, right? Like when I paint environments, sometimes you'll have something detailed up front, but then in the back, it's just a silhouette. Does that mean that there isn't any lighting there? No, there's lighting there, but you aren't going to go in and add every little detail. So you're just making it a big, simple shape, right? It's basically like doing that, but up close, right? It's like, here's the shapes far away, and then up close, we're going to add more texture and detail, maybe a little bit more lighting information, and that's going to be that. Does that mean that there isn't lighting back there? No, we just aren't going to add it because, or if we do, it's going to be real basic. It's less important to make it super accurate back here if that's going to ruin the composition, or like, if I have to add a bunch of highlights back here, that's going to, you know, that might make the image worse. So that's where I think you have to decide what you're going for. But like right now, I don't think this reads super well. I mean, the argument that AI is bad is the wrong tactic. Oh, I agree. I agree. Yeah, no. That's never been my method of why I don't say I don't like it. Yeah, no, I don't think it's actually terrible. I mean, I think it's terrible at, like, design. It's terrible at understanding the world. And so it can imitate and it can look nice and shiny. But no, that's it. Yeah, it's not like, oh, this image is bad, therefore it's AI. No, of course not. That's never been my argument. It never will be my argument. I was just insulting AI. I wasn't. Yeah, my reasons for not liking it are theft primarily, and copyright, and just setting the precedent of like, also you're not doing the work, and over time you aren't, like, you don't learn from it. Where, like, if every art piece I do, I can learn from my own ideas and the things I learn about a topic. You aren't the one making the choices, and you aren't the one having to learn from that. So, like, that's a bit. So, like, I have reasons that from educational reasons to theft reasons, but yeah. But no, yeah, the argument against AI because it's bad isn't one, because also you can't always tell. But again, it's the quality isn't in how nice the image. Also, that's another thing though, right? The quality isn't in how nice an image looks. I think that's like a fairly. I think because for a while I also would, like, sort of, it was almost a pet peeve because one thing I really don't like is people making terrible arguments. And so sometimes when I would hear people, and for the record, I was not making an argument of why AI is bad. I was just saying it's dumb. But it bothers me a little bit when people make terrible arguments, because, yeah, it's like, it feels like it's the wrong tactic and you're not doing anybody any favors. Now, we're all preaching to the choir here. Everybody's probably on the same page, more or less, so it doesn't really matter. But I also think it's a little bit of a naive view to make the claim that AI art isn't bad because you can't tell it apart. That's not what makes art good. It's not because it looks like, anybody who's doing art professionally, right? Any illustrator, any designer, the metric that they're judged on, whether a character designer is a good character designer, isn't based on does their character look cool. That's not what a character designer does. They aren't given a prompt that says make a cool character, make him really shiny and polished and rendered, you know? Like, that's not what you're doing, right? A good illustrator isn't just make a cool picture. It's take an idea and push it to tell the story you want to tell. AI is not doing that, and AI isn't designing well. It's not designing at all. It's just taking things that make it look like other people's designs and kind of polished. So yes, it can make polished work, but who cares? It's pretty great. So that's I think it's easy to get it conflated if we're talking about the quality of like, oh, it looks pretty and you can't tell it apart. It doesn't matter. Because it always runs in, at least in my opinion, it always runs into like the artist versus the viewer problem, which is like, I know what my intents are and you don't. And so if I show something to you, you might say, wow, that looks great. But to me, I missed the mark because I know what I was going for, right? AI doesn't hit that mark. You might not know the difference. You might say, wow, it looks so polished, so good. But it's not. It's garbage in the sense that you're not in control of it. And even when you think you are, there's so many choices being offloaded that are just stolen from other people that aren't actually like, you don't even know what like if you were to use AI, right? A lot of people don't even know what they could have done different because they don't know what the options are because they didn't have to make the choice, right? It'd be like a set designer who isn't aware that they had control over the style of the jacket that their person would. Of course, if you're a costume designer, you know that when you pick the costumes, you can do anything, right? But when you're doing AI, you didn't even think about costume, but it just chose it for you because you said 1950s and it was like, oh, good enough. And then you're like, yep, that's all I know. So you don't have to learn anything about 1950s costume if that's what you type into the prompt, right? It's just going to pick something for you. And you're going to say, yeah, good enough. Right? You're not the one making those choices. And so you don't have to do any research, you don't have to understand anything. It's like you're commissioning something that's stealing, right? So it's yeah. Anyway, that's one of my gripes is that I think people like to look at something that's polished and shiny and say, "Oh, it's good." But that's not what artists are doing. And so that's always bugged me a little bit. And it's a hard thing, right? Because it's like a thing that we all fall for. I mean, even pros, right, will judge art based on what they assume the intention was, not based on what the actual intention was, because you don't always know. And which is why, like, a lot of illustration jobs will do, like, art tests, right? Or design jobs will do art tests, so that they do know if you can hit the mark or not. Because you can't tell otherwise. You can have shiny, polished work, and then you can make up a story about what it was all about, and you could fool the world. And no one would ever know. But there's a difference between, like, does this satisfy the prompt, or is this pushing the prompt in a way that is more, right? Like, a good... It reminds me when I would do... To be fair, though, most consumers just want something shiny and polished when hanging on the wall. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, there's a lot of art. And again, I'm not saying AI is useless. I mean, I think it's trash, like low-quality garbage. But in the sense of, like, is there a market for it? Of course, there's going to be, like, anything promotional that's, like, a one-off image that's just a vibe, right? Where it's like, if you want a movie poster with Batman looking cool... AI can spit that out for you, and you can probably use it as like a movie poster. It doesn't need to be a real scene with real stuff happening. There's no narrative, right? It's just him looking cool, trying to sell something. A lot of art's like that, and a lot of art is just like, here's art. It looks cool. Buy me. Stick me on the wall. Whatever. That's fine. I'm not saying... I mean, again, this is where the actual arguments against AI come into play, like the theft and all that. But no, if you're trying to use it as like an illustration or, you know, to tell a story, there's a whole skill set that's not being enacted on, right? Like if you have a children's book
like, yeah, you can, and I think that's where people do feel it, right? If you left all your movie concept art and design and storyboarding to AI, you would get a bunch of, it would feel like generic crap. You would feel it in the execution. You might not be able to pinpoint one scene, right? But you would feel that it's not pushed. The story isn't, you're not maximize, you're not getting the most out of what you could in sort of a theoretical space, right? Like, you're not, it's not like you took professional storytellers and had them really stretch their muscles. Yeah, it would feel stale. There would be, it would, you're not, I mean, I don't know how else to describe the idea than pushed, but like I remember back in architect school, just in college, one of our projects, and I told this story before, but one of our projects was to design, like, we had to take a motif, and mine was like little tubes and circle thingies. Think like a mouse, like tubes that, you know, just tubes, basically tubes and pipes. And it was like we had like a little box, and then basically we had to create, like, it was basically like abstract art using this motif. And I remember I more or less took, here, I'll draw it so you guys can see what I'm saying. I more or less took this square box that everybody had the same size, same shape box, and I basically just took a few tubes and I put the tubes through the, oh, here, we'll draw this one on the other side. Oh, here, we'll do a dotted line so you know it's on the other side, right? And I basically just put the tubes through the thing. I put some this way, right? And they went through all the way through out the other side. Here, we'll go like this. Right, so I put them out the other side. I put some from top to bottom, some sticking out, some big ones, some small ones, but it kind of looked like that. It was not very exciting. I think some were curvy, and it was just like kind of an abstract art, right? But it kind of, mine ended up kind of looking like a hamster cage. And one of their the thing, this whole lesson was about like pushing the concept, right? And they were like, what if you just did away with the box, or filled the box to the brim with tubes? Every single, you just stuck them in everywhere. Literally every square inch. Tubes, 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 everywhere. And then you can start removing them, right? Some will be big tubes, some will be small tubes. Then you can go in and remove the things or change them as you see fit. But start there. Start with the extreme. Like, push the idea so that you're actually like doing the thing in like in the most that you can do it, and then you can like dial it back, kind of. And that, to me, that was like, you can take the concept further, right? It doesn't, just because, you know, to me my first idea was kind of cool and like, yeah, this is a box with tubes going through it, like, okay, great, but like, did that really scream the idea of like tubes, you know, or whatever, pipes or whatever the motif was, right? Little cylinders with holes in them. No, it didn't. Like, this one, the pushed version did. And I remember that critique was like, okay, that's what they mean. And that to me was important, because it was, I think when you're telling a story, it's not just like, that works, you know, like, oh, the boy went to the store. Great. But like, is that what happened? Like that's not, that's like a generic bland version, right? It's you feel it as like a good storyteller guides you along, and they make you feel the things at every step, and they direct your attention in just the right way, and it's not like, oh, and there's some other stuff, but it's not important, because, you know, they don't gloss over. It's everything's very intentional and directed, and it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't have to feel that way. Anyway, it's a hard thing to like pinpoint, but I think when storytelling or design isn't like done well, it just feels like, it works, I guess. You know, it's like you tell a student to write an essay, and they're like, that's an essay. It covered the topic. I guess it works. It did the prompt, but like, they didn't. they didn't bring anything new. They didn't explore their ideas very deeply. They didn't proofread it. It's just kind of like, eh. Anyway, and I feel like that's the thing where, again, if you don't know what the prompt is, and you don't know what the goal of the assignment was, it's hard to say whether or not it's pushed or not. Maybe the prompt was to write, the most boring, essay in a monotone voice. That could be a writing assignment. Oh, I'm lagging, sorry. Right, that could be a writing assignment, is to write like a monotone type paper. And if you didn't know what the prompt was, you might read it and say, oh, this is terrible, right? But it might really be good because it might have nailed the prompt, right? Maybe they pushed it as far as it could go. And so you just simply don't know. And that's where I think you can't, I mean, it's literally like judging a book by its cover, right? You're judging the art by only the outcome without ever knowing the input or like what it's for. And this is where I think when it gets into products, but like a single image could still look great, right? You could look at an image and it could feel strong and it could feel, gosh, I'm lagging. Sorry if I'm lagging. Let me save. Let me close some tabs. Hopefully I'm not too laggy. But yeah, that's something that I think it's really hard because, again, you can never really look at a piece, and this is why, like, you can look at AI art and be like, oh wow, that looks really cool, right? What a cool design. But it might be cool in the sense that it's interesting to you, right? Like a cool design meaning not the design itself is inherently good, but it looks cool and it makes you say, oh, that's neat, right? But that's not what designers are trying to do, right? Like, not really. They typically have a goal beyond just make it look neat, and I think that's the thing that's tricky. It's tricky for the general public, right? And because it's like, I mean, we've kind of talked about this last stream with like creativity, right? Where sometimes you look at an idea and you're like, wow, what a great idea, or wow, the idea is so imaginative, right? And then the person who made it was like, no, it just made sense, right? That was just the normal thing. And yet you have this disconnect between the viewer who doesn't understand the goals, they don't understand the process, they didn't understand the way that they got to the end, right? They just see the end, that's all they see. And then you have the artist who's like, it's, like, it didn't feel that creative to me, it just kind of made sense. One thing led to another just very naturally, and you ended up at this thing, and then everyone's like, wow, what a great idea, right? There's sort of that disconnect, and I think the same is true when you're looking at like any art, right? You just don't know. And so yeah, the days of like being able to judge something as AI or not by looking at it is more or less, I feel like, gone. But when you see it as like, this movie was made by AI, I think we're definitely still in this stage where like you feel it. You can tell that this thing is not novel, it's not breaking new ground, it's not pushing anything. It's not pushed. Just that, it's not pushed. Anyway, so that's my rant about AI. When I say I think AI sucks, that's what I mean. It sucks at doing the things artists actually do, and not at making it fool the non-artist into thinking, oh wow, or even the artist, right? Sometimes it fools artists. I mean, you see this in like, I mean, maybe it's not fooling art, I don't know, but you see it in like people want to, it does enough to, like, if you want to believe that it's going to be the next big thing, or like in movies or whatever, it's easy to look at the polish and let's say that has the polish of a Hollywood film. Well, yeah, because that's what it's trained on, so it imitates it, but it doesn't have the design and the understanding, and it doesn't have the actual heads that made the choices. Anyway, that's my rant. Is my stream unwatchable? How laggy am I on a scale of 1 to very laggy? It's a terrible scale. No, it's fine. Okay. So it's not like buffering? If it's buffering, it's not fine. Also, I don't know how necks and shoulders work. Not for you? Okay. Oh, what was I gonna do? Oh, I was gonna copy this. I was gonna copy this and then do like a paint over. It's about this sternocleidomastoid. I've heard that word before. I don't care about what it's called, to be honest, but yeah, it's the. I assume that is that the overlappy part of the shoulder. This part. No, that's the deltoid, right? The delts? Is that what that is? The shoulders? I don't know what that is. Or is that no, those are the delts, right? I don't know it. I don't know anything. I don't know what this is. The shoulder muscles. The shoulders. It's the shoulders. The deltoid. Okay. Is that what the deltoid is? It has a 3-part pair muscle. Okay. I feel like I've done stuff like this before. Oh yeah, this was gonna be driftwood. Did I do one of these as driftwood, not the other? Yeah, okay, I just copied the wrong one. Hold on. This is the one I was working on. I knew something was wrong. I was like, why does that look like I didn't work on it? Sterno is part of the neck? Okay. I just tried to make my screen black and white, and I'm literally painting in black and white. Okay. I think that works. Oh, it's like that straight... Oh, it's that straight neck thing? Gotcha. Straight neck muscle. That's what I call it. That's the one that becomes pronounced when you rotate the head. Also, this person's... Speaking of the head, this person's head looks like it's off of their... Like, they got a really long neck, right? Like Dhalsim from Street Fighter. With like the stretchy boy. I think that's kind of like that. Okay. Do I want to start... Hold on. I had some driftwood photos. Where'd they go? Oh, here they go. Okay, gonna close all the tabs that I have open. I'm surprised you went with Dhalsim and not Mr. Fantastic or something. Yeah, I don't know why I thought of that. That was just the thing that... Yeah, I don't know. That was just the... I think I heard someone reference it fairly recently, and so that was, like, still in my brain. And so I pulled from another reference that I had heard. But that's totally, now, when I think of Stretchy Boy, that's the thing that pops into my head. And I think recently we had a conversation about yoga, and he does his yoga fire, or yoga flame, or whatever you call it. So I feel like there's 2 points in my head that connect back to him, so I'm like, alright, that's the thing. There's a movie coming... Oh, and I think I also saw a... yeah, I think I saw a preview or an ad or something for it. Okay, so let's I should probably be doing this in color because I think it's fun to paint in color. But yeah, I want to, like, you know, if this is like wood, you know, maybe not all of him is wood, but maybe there's like wood bits. Is that weird? I don't want it to be too creepy if like having wood grow out of him. I realize that could be very unflattering. I mean, he doesn't need to be super flattering. Or she, I don't even know. I haven't decided anything about this character. This is starting to sound inappropriate. Oh, I apologize. Don't mean to get too inappropriate on you. You know me. Let's see. Does this look like this character is made of driftwood? Kinda. I guess I could be looking at Groot. Groot would help. A little bit of texture and shapes. Driftwood character. Maybe this character has like... Again, we can have like little shapes in here. Don't know how the neck works. This is where I'm just making it up. I know that it has a little dimple spot in the neck right at the base. Yeah, this neck's not looking good. But it's okay. He's made of he's wood. He's like carved out of wood. So maybe there's like I don't know. The neck is so weird. I don't know how to draw necks. Um Okay, maybe there's fish. Fish swimming. Little fish swimming. Maybe there's a school of fish. Mergroot. Yeah, Mergroot, exactly. Maybe there's a whole school of fish, and the fish are like swimming after him. And they're in like a like this, right? So if our character's here, maybe there's like a something like that, maybe. I'm scattering different ways. Just kind of drawing little shapes that sort of look like fish. This is gonna be like a flower or something. So maybe it'll be more saturated. Again, haven't figured out how to draw hands yet, so we're just putting blobs. kelp maybe. Kind of like that. I kind of feel like this arm should be like this, right? Like this should be the top of the arm. Right? See, this is where like the main focal point is bad anatomy, and I don't know how to fix that. I mean, I do. It's called literally doing this pose and then taking a photo and then painting myself more or less. So maybe I'll do that. I'm not gonna put myself on screen in this pose, but maybe I'll do like a paint over off stream and I'll fix the anatomy a bit. I don't know. It would be fun to do a character. But I think compositionally we could treat this, you know. Maybe that'll be my homework. I don't know if I'll get to it before Monday though. Maybe I won't do it Monday. Because I got something else going on Monday too. I've got my air conditioning being installed, so stream will be cut, maybe not short, but I'll have to take a moment during stream. Yeah, this thing is the pose is whack. It's whack, yo. Do we go darker? I don't think so. I don't think we go darker. Probably lighter, actually, in some spots. Probably actually just like a fog, not a fog, but like just a fill light over everything. That isn't the main character. Or, you know, just that way we can really focus in on the storytelling, right? That way we aren't getting like high contrast. We're kind of dimming the contrast and everything else. And using that brightest contrast right at the character. I think that could work. I mean, we could go a little bit brighter back here. Let's try that. Let's bring in... And it's kind of just me playing around here. Like, yeah, what if we did this? I also want to try some... Here, let's, what do I want to do? Maybe a glow dodge? I don't know if glow dodge is going to work. What if we did something like this? Face is looking pretty dope now, and you were beating yourself up. I mean, the face is okay. I'm more concerned about this part, to be honest. This shoulder's okay-ish, but like, I don't know how to make this arm and this part of the torso. I don't know what's happening here. This is all just a big question mark to me. Yeah, I'm okay with the face because it's kind of like it's a creepy, weird, like wooden character. So if it's made of driftwood, who cares? Like if it's, you know, anatomically correct, it can be a little funky. Right? It kind of looks like a wood mask or something. I think I'm okay with that. You know, it's not. Is it perfect? No, but it definitely looks like a mask, which again is fine. This doesn't make it look like they're very deep underwater, though. Yeah, no, nope, not good lighting there. This needs to be darker. I don't want that to be super deep. But yeah, no, I'm not too worried about the face. I don't think that was... I mean, I'm not great at faces, but I don't think that was my main concern. Maybe I said it was. I don't think I did. I don't think the face was my biggest concern. But I don't know. I can't quite recall what I said I thought was the biggest problem. But I do feel... Okay, maybe I'll... You know, here's what I'll do. I'm going to merge visible. Wait, where is the one I was working on? This is the one. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is copy this one more time. I like making copies of copies. Here's a copy. And we're going to put it up here. And we're going to delete this one. No. I don't know. Delete that. I'm just going to move it here. There. Hey, KK Mousy, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Oh. Copy again. Because I want to do a color edit. I want to slap some color on this. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to take an overlay. No, color. We'll just do color. And I'm going to put some funky colors. Kind of the same colors from here. Just kind of sepia tone vibes it. Just the same colors that are in this painting. This other one. Kind of a gradient from like green and teal up top. Maybe some brighter colors to some redder, more, yeah, reddish, brownish, grayish colors on the bottom. Maybe. And then maybe some bright orange or something. I don't know. I'm not sure the best way to do this, but I feel like something like that could work. Just kind of trying to blob in some colors. Right now, the colors aren't great, and I realize that. I normally don't work from grayscale to color. But for characters, I feel like it makes more sense. Yeah, I don't like that at all. What about these colors? Ooh. Yeah, it's not my preferred way of working, but it is not a bad way when I'm just trying to like get values down and I don't really know what I'm doing otherwise. So we could go green. Ooh, purple maybe? Ooh, maybe we do like a purple to teal color. So like maybe, again, kind of, I'm just literally color picking from up here. So now we have like an orangey character. Maybe something like that. little bit of orange in the webbing of the hands. Now we could go, hold on, here's another direction we could take it. We could take it in like a yellowy green. Like these things in like a yellow green. Now it's weird because a lot of the ways that I like to experiment with color is sometimes doing things like color dodge or glow dodge, but you can't really do that when you've already planned out your value structure of the painting, because now adding these colors, it might get me some cool colors, but I can't use them because they're not at the right value, you know? So you can't just like slap in color and be like, oh, that's neat, you know, because that changes stuff. I mean, you kind of can, but you have to be careful of not ruining your values. But sometimes you can do something like that. You can take the new color that you get and then like paint it in elsewhere. Right? And then you can go back and delete that. And then you still have this color that you now got. But that's not... Yeah, that's a little messy. You can make a brush that only changes the hue saturation. Yeah, but it doesn't give the same impact. Like, how do I word that? Like, a lot of the impact of a color palette isn't in the actual colors on the page, but it's in like the relationship between like the lights and the darks and the... So, like, making something that... Gosh. Like, when I'm using color dodge, because it's interacting as if things are light, right? Like, the vibe that a color dodge gives. So, like, if I go something like this, right? And let's say I like the colors, right? The colors are nice. But the colors, like this color, is nice. But that color only works if it's being treated as light. If I take the same color in a different part of my painting, it's not guaranteed to have the effect of like, oh, it's a light on shadow, right? So like... So like, these colors wouldn't work if I just made them not also bright. Like, the whole point is that it looks like sun, right? Like, that's what's making that warm light look like warm light. So if this effect reads, I have to make sure that it's only in the spot that I want it to be light. And it's not guaranteed to read because I got that interaction by painting on, you know, the blue with whatever. So, like, I don't know. I feel like this is why I don't like to do it late, because I don't just want to add new light sources everywhere. I mean, I could come in here and amp up the light sources I already have, but again, that's... I mean, if I want to make something glowing, I guess I can do that. But in general, that's not... I don't know. But yeah, no, you can change just the saturation hue without changing the value. That's true. But I like to experiment with colors using color dodge because it does things that are, you know, you're going to get different colors and different values. Ooh, I kind of like this pink here, actually. And actually, it could, it's not bad. Is there a way to work that in? I may actually be a little too bright or too dark. Maybe I could even brighten it up. Do we ever go blue in the background? I don't think so. I think I'm trying to avoid going this color of blue. Okay, I think what I want to do is not worry about the background and worry instead, or not worry, I don't want to worry about anything. This is a worry-free zone. We're gonna do an overlay. And again, I'm probably gonna paint over this at some point, so I'm more just trying to figure out color. We'll just go like green fish person, but kind of made of driftwood. So maybe if it's driftwood though, do we want it to feel like a ghostly color or something? Because this doesn't look like driftwood. Wait, this is not the color of driftwood. Also, why is this so bright? What happened? Oh, it was the color layer. I didn't want that bright blue. That was ridiculous. How did I let myself do that? I had this super bright blue everywhere. If anything, the red would be cooler. Or neater, I should say. The red is warmer, actually. Yeah, this blue needs to go away. I don't want a blue. In fact, I think even a color palette that's a little bit more reddish, orangish color would actually not be too bad. Like that. Like a murky reddish color. I feel like that's way better. And then maybe we do get a little bit of that teal or blue at the top, because like that is the top of the thing. And I'm just trying to think of color. Also, the face is so white. Why is it so that color? Kind of wacky colors here, but that's okay. Do I stop here for the day? I'm a little tired, and I'm noodling. I mean, I'm so tempted to just like heavy-handed go blue, you know, like the classic color that everybody likes for underwater scenes, you know, just like that. Like, look, I'm doing it. But I mean, it does look cool or neat, I should say. Turquoise, underwater, tropical. Like I mean, it's, you know, you gotta love it. But I really want to do something different. I'm just in experiment mode right now. I mean, maybe if I did like the whole character in like a warm tone and then everything else in a cool tone, maybe I could get away with that. Something like that. I don't know. I'm so at a loss for what I'm doing right now. We could go like that and do like a they're in the shallows. No. Right now, I don't feel like we have a sense of where the surface of the water is. Oh boy, what do I do? I think I need to take a break on this. So I think this is a good spot to end. I'm a little hungry. I'm a little tired, and I'm just not sure where I'm going with this. And I think I need to sleep on it. But also, I want to keep painting, so it's a problem. It's a problem I have where it's hard to end stream. I mean, we could also do like shimmery scales. Again, this whole character, the silhouette makes no freaking sense. What am I doing with the silhouette of this character? Where do they go? Where's the Also, like, what's with this arm? Why is this arm all buff and then this arm has like little tiny skinny? What's happening here? I don't need this character to be buff. In fact, I kind of don't want them to be. In fact, I don't even... I mean, it could be a mask. Anatomy's hard. I don't really know how this part of the arm connects. Also, yeah, I need to use reference for anatomy. No reference on this is the big killer, I think. Also, these little spiky things on their wrists look like they're dangerous. I could probably also focus more on this part of stuff. Like the actual plants. For composition. Something like that. It's not bad. There, that's actually better. I'm actually pretty happy with that. And then we'll get some of this pink coral. And then maybe some really glowing parts where it's like this fancy purple color. That's the thing that they're being enamored by. They're kind of looking at it like they're picking a flower, except it's not a flower. Maybe it is. Maybe there's flowers here. Now we could go super vibrant and do like a glowing thing. And have that glowing thing like light up parts of them. I do like my underwater bioluminescence. I'm a big fan of it. Okay, but I don't know. I think this is a good spot to stop. I'm tired. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Putting up with my rambles. Rare character stream where I fiddle around with drawing whatever this is. I still don't know what shape I'm making it, what I'm doing with the shape. It's kind of just like a nebulous shape in the background. But you know what? That's okay. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's driftwood shape and it just turns into stuff, mist. I don't know. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, everybody. We're gonna raid somebody. I'm gonna save here. And you're gonna add more environment. I don't know. It's gonna be pretty minimal because it's in water and like, especially with like the focal depth of like having a character in focus, it's hard to see stuff in the back. Like maybe a little bit. Maybe I'll put more coral or something back here. I don't know. I'm not really sure what I would do. I think I want to play around with color a little bit and figure out how far underwater do I think we are based on, you know, values and color and different ways of showing that. Because if I make it feel like this is like the top, right? So let's say this is the surface right here and we're looking up, which could be kind of cool, I guess. Then maybe like this is the bottom and we can see it. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's kind of just depends on like I'm not even sure where we're looking, right? Are we looking up? Are we looking down? You know, is there like a cliff here going that way and we're like they're at a weird angle? It's hard to tell because you're underwater and underwater you can be, the camera can be anywhere, right? Like we know our camera is up here, right? We know our eye line's there, but that doesn't tell us the rotation or the tilt. And a lot of that's going to depend on like where do I want the light, right? If I were to come in here with like an overlay or something and do like a bright light like this, right? That's going to make it seem like the light's above them. But it could just as well be like this. I mean, you know, okay, that's, hold on. It could just as well be like the light's coming from below, right? We could have literally the sky up below them, right? I mean, I hadn't planned on it, so I doubt it would be that way. But you know, because that's not how they're lit. Yeah. I mean, I sort of intuitively drew the ground below them, and I intuitively drew the sky above them. But you know, yeah, like and also kind of I made the light come from above, right? I definitely made the light come from above because that's how their face is lit. But we don't really know if they're like looking through a little crack. In fact, this actually looks pretty cool like that. Like I'm not really sure how I want to do the lighting. And also like, is this like the tropical type thing where the light actually makes it far down, or I'm not really sure. I gotta think about it. And again, it's very broad and very loose still because I'm trying to figure out color. Sup, Liam Quinn, how's it going? We're getting ready to end stream. We are getting ready to end stream. Although I do like these colors right here. Super neon colors. Going well, finishing a project for 2D design. Nice. Yeah, I am, yeah, we're doing some mermaid. Now, do I ever just go like this? Probably not. Yeah, I gotta get some reference. Maybe that'll be my homework for myself. Probably not, again, probably not before Monday, so I probably won't work on this on Monday, but I think I need to try and get some, get some references for this, because right now this was without reference. And I'm just struggling with, like, shoulder and this shouldn't be too hard of a reference to get. It might change significantly as I realize that things just don't make sense. Like, there's no way for this to work, whatever's happening back here. But I do feel like we should be able to make the character go like that, right? Like, some sort of movement. Maybe this is how we do it. We go like that. Is that weird? Also, do we give them legs? Like, we could give them legs. They could have, like, actual human legs. I don't think all merfolk, right, in, like, fantasy, they don't all have, like, they don't all have fish bodies. Like, sometimes they're like, they have human parts, like legs. But they have, like, scales and you know, gills and other, like, flipper hand thingies, kind of like I did here, where you have, like, this, they're not strictly, you know, like your classic mermaid, you know, they don't all have, like, this, and then you have the, well, the rest of the character, right, with the head and the shoulders and the arms. This is totally how I draw people. You know, like, not all mermaids are like this, right? You have some that have, like, feet, but they have gills and other things that make them more fish-like on the top as well. I mean, they, you know, they don't all have, like, fish heads like this, but some of them have, like, fishy features, right? Like this one, you know, it might have, you know, gills that go like this. You know, lots of things. Actually, that's kind of cool. So yeah, maybe I say, okay, I'm going to save that and continue it. I'm going to continue it later. Thanks again for being here. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for the follow, or the subscribe, I guess is what you call it. I always forget because I'm on Twitch. Anyway, take care. If you want to support me further, you can. I have a Patreon, patreon.com/jstiller30, and I'll support